Right. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anna Peiko, and I will be your host today. I'm joining from Washington, D.C. And if you're online, please also type in chat the location you're joining us from, and please say hi in your native language. So, on behalf of the IFC GLC team, I would like to welcome you. This is our 36th webinar, Maximizing Training Effectiveness, Transforming Training into Action. This session is conducted by Sandra Ihenacho. So Sandra is our regular speaker, and she's also an IC certified master trainer. And today we will have a discussion with a large group of panelists, each having a wealth of experience and expertise in the learning and development field. So please make yourself comfortable, tune in for the webinar, and please contribute to the discussion today. We would like to hear your insights as well. Okay. So before we begin, as always, I must remind you that this session is being recorded and we will post the recording on the webinar page. And if you would like to replay other GLC webinars, and by now we have conducted 35 webinars in English and I think 11 in French, you can certainly do that. So all these webinars are available to you on the GLC website. So just go to GLC and navigate to GLC webinar pages. When sending questions or comments, please send them to everyone so that everyone can see your responses and contributions to the discussions. And as you already know, you have been muted by default when you logged in. So if you would like to join a live discussion, just raise your hand virtually and we will unmute you. And of course, we would be most grateful if at the end of today's webinar, you could share your thoughts about how this session went for you and what we can do better, what we can do better next time. Before we switch to the main topic of today's discussion, I just wanted to make a couple of quick announcements about some learning and development opportunities as well as certification opportunities for learning and development professionals. So first of all, the Learning and Performance Institute, which is IFC partner, is conducting a free webinar on October 17th. The title is Making Learning Matter. This webinar will feature speakers from Cargill, PepsiCo, and Profitability Business Simulations, who will explore how creating a culture of continuous learning can drive an organization's success. By the way, continuous learning was one of the topics that we already discussed on the GLC platform. So again, if you're interested, you're more than welcome to rewatch it. It was conducted by Adaora Ayuadi, our master trainer. Second, with today's speaker, Sandra Ihenacho is launching 2 training sessions for L&D professionals. Both of these sessions will teach L&D professionals online and offline facilitation skills, and they also offer an opportunity to get certified as IFC, LPI, TPMA trainers. So Sandra will conduct separate sessions for those professionals who have at least 8 years of experience. This cohort is called Agile, and it will kick off on October 16th. And those who have little or no experience in the L&D space. This cohort is called Growth, and they will start on October 17th. Third, if you are interested in getting certified as an online learning facilitator, please consider signing up for the session. That will be conducted by Margaret and Barbara Jackson, and their session is starting on October 16th. Training and certification opportunities will also be offered by Saram Binji. She is starting the facilitating learning online and in-person training on October 18th. If October doesn't work for you, you can join another session, which will be offered by Adeola Babatunde. She is starting her training on November 7th. And for those of you who live in Kenya, and I know that some of you are joining from Kenya today, we strongly encourage you to join the facilitating face-to-face learning, which is basically training of trainers. So training of trainers in Kenya will be conducted in person starting November 20th. It will be conducted by our master trainer, Esther Macharia. I know we have some French speakers today, so just a couple of quick announcements. First of all, we invite our Francophone professionals to join us for the GLC webinar, where we will discuss the use of artificial intelligence by training professionals. This will be the same session as the one offered in English in July 2023. However, this time it will be conducted in French. And if you live in Guinea or within travel distance to Guinea, our master trainer, Aissatou Diallo, will be offering the in-person training of trainers starting October 21st. And now it is my great pleasure to welcome back Sandra Ihenacho. Sandra is an IFC certified master trainer. She's also the IFC LPI TPMA trainer and assessor. She's a transformational coach and a team and group coach. She has a lot of credentials. She's known to many of us as the Oracle, and she is also very known for her level of energy, which is always bursting. It's very high, and I hope that you will catch that energy today. And Sandra is being joined by our distinguished panelists, Eniola, who is an IFC LPI TPMA trainer, instructional designer, and consultant. Shehu, he is a senior manager at Human Capital Partners. Nkyam, who is an HR manager at MTN Nigeria. And Timitope, who is an HR manager at Coca-Cola Hellenic Bottling Company. So welcome everyone, and I hope you will enjoy this session. Sandra, over to you.
Anna. Thank you so much, Anna. And let me just okay. So welcome everyone, wherever you're joining in from. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and some people good night, wherever you're joining in from. So thank you so much, Anna, for welcoming me. Once again, it's a pleasure to be in your midst today. And I'm privileged to be joined in with 4 other persons, 4 awesome individuals for us to, and you're awesome attendees too, for us to be able to learn this today. And so today we are looking at maximizing training effectiveness. Maximizing training effectiveness. So we're transforming, how do we transform training into action? So now we know that there are a couple of people for our attendees. We know that we have people that are working for organizations who are employees. We also know that there are entrepreneurs in our midst, entrepreneurs like myself and entrepreneur like Eniola, who is one of the panelists. So because of that, we try to ensure that we're going to, how we're speaking now, we're speaking to people working in organizations as employees like Nkem and Timmy, and who are working in organizations, and people who are working for their clients, right? So these are 2 things we're going to look at. How do you transfer training into action for your organization and for your clients? And once again, just like Anna said, my name is Sandra, popularly known as the Oracle. So I hope we have a wonderful time today. And thank you so much. I can see from what Anna posted, Anna asked us to say where we're joining from. I see people joining from Nepal, from Kenya, from Nigeria, from New York, and from Haiti. Awesome. So welcome everyone from wherever you're joining from. I'm from, I think, India. I guess I should be Indian. Namaste to you too, Raj. So welcome everyone. And as you join in, please feel free to introduce yourself, tell us where you're joining in from, and if you don't mind, tell us welcome in your language. So I am going to be your moderator throughout today. I'll be your moderator. I'll be moderating this wonderful session. And I can't just wait for us to dive right into the session. Of course, you've met our panelists. So this is Timmy. This is Eniola, whom I call Annie. So when I say Annie, it's Eniola I'm talking about. This is Nkem, and this is Sheung. Okay, so we're going to start by taking a poll. I guess we're ready. So let me put up the poll. We're starting by taking a poll. So let's have our first poll. So just give me a second while I bring up the poll. Okay. Okay, so the poll is on. I guess you can see it. So I'm sure you can see the poll by the side. However, I also have it on the slide. So why did you sign up for today's webinar? Why did you sign up for today's webinar? So there are various options there. Why did you sign up for today's webinar? Why did you sign up? So we are so interested to know why you did sign up for today's webinar. Why did you sign up for today's webinar? Hmm. Okay, so I'm going to give a few more seconds and to allow other persons. I can see some persons that have started. Okay, more persons are still writing, are still picking up why they signed up for today's webinar. So even though I closed the poll and you've been unable to tell us why you signed up for today's webinar, please feel free. You can type it into the chat and we'll look at it. So thank you so much for all those that have told us why they signed. So we have like 71% already. Awesome. So I'm going to stop the poll now. Thank you so much for all those that have told us why they are here for today's webinar. So let's see. What's the result? What are we saying now? So we have a lot of persons saying, okay. So we have a lot of persons saying that the topic making training more effective is one of their interests, about 13%. Then the topic piqued my interest, 6%. Just 2% says I want to serve my organization better. 9% says I want to serve my clients better. And the webinar, 2% said the webinar was promoted. Okay, interesting. Thank you so much for all those that have signed up for the poll. Thank you. So at least we, to an extent, I have an idea, or we all have an idea why you're here. So we have the majority of people saying that the training, the topic making training more effective is one of their interests, and that's why they are here. So we're going to try to cater for everyone that is here on this webinar. So let's move ahead. So I'm going to ask this question. How engaged will you be in today's webinar? It's very important for us to know. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is multitasking, half listening. 10 is all in, ready to make a usable plan. I just want you to type into chat why I look at chat. Just type into chat why I look at the chat box. How engaged will you be in? So you give us numbers. Oh, and it says 10. I can see 8. So give us numbers. Shola says 8. Awesome. Okay. Okay, I'm seeing 8. Sochku says 8. Hi Pieto says 6. Okay, I like your vulnerability. I like what you're saying. So just be true to yourself and true to us. How engaged will you be in this webinar? Thank you so much for all those. Adora says 8. Thank you, Adora. Raj says 7. Okay, Farouk says 6. Thank you so much. Now, why did I ask that question? How engaged will you be in today's webinar? I am of the school of thought, and I follow the school of thought that says multitasking is not possible. Yes, that multitasking is a myth. That's a school of thought I'm following, and I've been following that. Because you're going to give one preference to the other. Now, for those of you that chose from 7 to 10, this is something I want you to do. Those that chose below 7, not a problem. It's still fine. For those that chose from 7 to 10, this is what I want you to do. I would encourage you, as I show the learning objectives for today's webinar, I want you to use that as a practice strategy. So I want you to choose just one. If you want to take two, that's fine. Just take one objective. And at the end of today's webinar, I want you to come up with an actionable idea, an actionable plan. Because we are talking about making training more effective. And we've seen various reasons why it's not more effective, why it's not effective. Now, we want to start practicing from this webinar. And so you're not going to leave this webinar without giving us an action plan. What action are you taking? What actionable idea are you coming up with that as you leave this webinar, you want to start doing, stop doing, or continue to do? So one of these actions. So for those that choose from 7 to 10, kindly, as I go through the learning objectives, choose just one. If you want to choose two, beautiful. And at the end of today's webinar, please share with us your actionable idea, what you will start doing differently, stop doing, or continue doing as a result of this webinar and everything you learn from this webinar. So thank you very much, everyone. While we move further, now, I'm sure you can see what You can see what I have up on the slide. And I know some persons are wondering, Sandra, the oracle, why do you have this? Now, if your hands, I know that a lot of persons, a lot of you are L&D professionals, or you've been trainers for even much more years than myself and the panelists already have, right? I'm so sorry. Someone says, Tochukwu says you want to blow my head. No, 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 I don't want to blow your head, Tochukwu. I don't want to blow your head. So what I'm saying with this is, if your hands, I know you have so many years of experience, you've been trained for donkey years, you're an expert in all you do when it comes to training, you're an expert in it, that's fine. However, if your fist is closed like that, you won't get anything from this webinar. You won't get anything from what myself, Tenny, Timmy, Annie, Sheun, and Nkem is going to be sharing with you today. I know you're an expert, you're good, fine. However, you wouldn't get anything. Rather, do you know what will happen? If you try to open your hands, whatever you already have in your hand is going to fall off. Whatever you have in your hand is going to fall off. So what do we want you to do? This is what myself and the panelists want you to do. We want you to open your hands. We want you to open your hands like this. Because even what you already have, it's already in your hand, and you can now get from what we are going to share with you. What I'm going to share, what Temi is going to share, Annie is going to share, Sheun and Nkem, all we are going to share. We are professionals of over 78 years experience. So I want you to open up your hands. We want you to have your hands open like this, so that you can earn more of those things, more of those experiences, more of those knowledge and skill. Don't do this. So you can see, Tochku, I didn't want to hit your head. Okay, so we'll move ahead. So what are our session objectives? Where do we want to take you today, myself and the panelists? At the end of today's webinar, where do we want you to be? Now, please feel free to type into chat, where will be your vacation destination, somewhere you would love to go to, somewhere you'd want to be. I myself, I want to go to Seychelles. I've never been to Seychelles. That's somewhere I'm planning to go to. Seychelles. So that's where I want to go to. So just type into chat, where would you want to be your destination, vacation destination. Please take note, do not think of cost. Myself and the panelists, we've agreed today, we are taking care of the cost. We are taking care of your flight ticket. We are taking care of them for your accommodation, your feeding. We are taking care of everything. Don't say I didn't. Don't say I told you this. I've not told the panelists yet, but I'm putting them on the spot. We are taking care of everything. So I have Jamaica, South Korea, Ibiza, Hong Kong. Awesome. So at the end of this webinar, that place you want to go to, that is where we are taking you to. So see yourself getting there. Hawaii, Iceland, Portugal, wherever it is you want to get to. So you should be able to, one, articulate at least 3 strategies for enhancing your training programs. You should be able to list at least 2 steps to review. Either you're reviewing your existing training programs, or you want to improve on your training programs, both the new ones and the old, on the ones you already have existing. So whichever. So steps to review the ones you have already existing, or steps to improve on the one you're planning to have. Thirdly, at the end of this webinar, you should be able to articulate and define the primary goal of every training program you embark on. Are you an employee? You're embarking on a training program, or your organization is sending you on a training program, or you're an employer, you're an entrepreneur, you're reaching out to clients to train their employees. You will define and articulate the primary goal of every training you're going to embark on. And last but not the least, you'll plan your next line of action after this webinar, which is what we've talked about, which is our action points. So how are we going to get there? This will be our session roadmap, introduction of what exactly training effectiveness is. Talking about training effectiveness, what does it mean? What is it? So we're going to be looking at that. Then we'll dive right into the panel discussion. I have questions to ask the panel. They have their contributions. They have the experiences they've had, even in their organizations and even in the business. Then we go to Q&A, and throughout the session, we'll be doing polls. I've done 1 poll already. We're going to do 3 more polls for this session. Then we'll have Q&A. And lastly, you share with us your next line of action. So that will be our roadmap for today's webinar. Your why for being in this webinar. Now, this is very important. Our topic for today is what? Maximizing maximizing training effectiveness. We want to maximize our training effectiveness. We want to transform training into action. The training you send your employees on the training you are embarking on as a business, as an organization. How do you put it into action for your organization or for your clients? So now, why are you here in this webinar? Why are you listening? Why do you want to listen to this topic? Is there a training that you're planning on, or is there something you've been doing that you've not been doing correctly and you want to change? Is it that you've wondered, is training really, can it really be effective? Can there really be a training transfer? What about if I was just sent on training and I didn't want to go on that training? These are things we'll be looking at. So what is your why for being in this webinar? I'm just going to give you 30 seconds to 1 minute, 30 seconds. Your why. Why are you here in this webinar today? And I'll move on. I would love to read your why. Why are you here? And while we're at it, I'm still going to read your why. While we're at it, let's also look at the benefits. So if you want to type in your why and also type in the benefits. What will be the benefit of staying in this webinar? Thank you so much, Kluse. Kluse says, I've been appointed to a new position, regional training coordinator. Oh, and you really want to know how to ensure that this new position, you get it on. Good one. Lillian says, continuous learning, getting better at my trainings, additional sharpening my facilitation skills. Tochku says, I want to acquire some skills or tips to improve my training program. Awesome. Angelica says, I've recently trained many people and I want them to integrate the new knowledge in their work. Beautiful. Daniela says, I want to ensure that every training I get from my organization gives us the commensurate value. Awesome. And we are going to answer all this in this session today. So just keep typing your why. And as you are at that, what will be the benefit? What will be the benefit for you? What is it in for you? So when you sit down with us from 1 hour, 30 minutes, what is the benefit you want to derive from this? What is the benefit? What will be a benefit that I've spent 1 hour, 30 minutes, 90 hours, and it was not wasted? It was not wasted. It was worth it. And because of this, I will keep attending all GLC webinars. I will keep coming for these webinars. What is the benefit for you? Ketty says, instill my mind with new training techniques. Okay. Shola says, okay, that I guess that should be why. Bowenson said, if only 20% of training translate into action, I need a how to drive that close to 100%. Yeah, you're going to get it, Bowenson, because that is why we are here. You're going to get it. So Angelica says, I want ideas to get my trainees moving. Awesome. Just keep it coming. Let me move ahead. You're all in line. You're all in line. Now, once again, welcome to Maximizing Training Effectiveness, transforming training into action for your organizations and for your clients. I want you to see what I have there. Difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations. Now, I want to ask, you can type into chat, are you ready to ply this difficult road? Are you ready to ply it? Are you ready to do the things we are going to tell you to do? Because it's not just saying, I want this, I want my trainees to start implementing all they've learned. I want new techniques. If we give you all the techniques, would you use it? Because that's what's happening. People go for training and they come back and they're not implementing it. Why? So Tony says, I'm ready. Okay. Samia said, yes, I will. Awesome. So if you're going to read it, we are going to take you on a very difficult road. Yes. Because you need to be willing to go through that difficult road, because it's going to be difficult. And let's see how it's going to go. Let's move forward. Why did because as a global master trainer for the IFC, I am privileged. I could take any topic I want to take. I could decide to teach on you have a webinar on any of the topic. Like the last time I did on L&D strategy, I did on coaching. However, this time was different. Why? this is just a bit about me, and I'll tell you why. Why I brought this is for you to just understand my why I felt this was important. So I'm an ex-banker, mother of 6 children, IFC Global Master Trainer, a resource person with Lagos Business School, where I teach leadership and I teach human resource management, a certified transformational coach, certified team and group coach, a teacher and trainer for over 25 years, both formal and informal, a CEO, I run my own organization, a certified Kirkpatrick professional. Kirkpatrick, if you've not heard about Kirkpatrick, go and read about them. They are, when it comes to evaluation, that is where they are. When it comes to training evaluation, they are the to go and other. So that's one of something about Kirkpatrick. I'm going to soon be certified as a certified transfer designer by ITA. It's Institute for Training Effectiveness by Dr. Ina Webuhem Hidel. And hope very soon I'm also going to be certified as an high performance on the high performance learning journey certifications, which is by Professor Robert Brinkerhoff. However, Promote is the one in charge of this certification. Now, I will now tell you why. So I'm a learning transfer advocate, a self leadership advocate, and a problem solver and positive minded. In my years, I've been an entrepreneur since 2010. And I've been able to train various organizations, and I see people, the next thing what they do too is when they want to cut the budget, they go to training. They go to the L&D budget, most especially training. And I see organizations say, we don't see any impact on this training, so there's no need. We are just ticking the box. Let's just tick the box. And because of that, I've been on the lookout until I saw Kirkpatrick, now met Ina, now met Promote Robert Brinkerhoff. So this is my why. I'm very passionate about this. And I don't want you to leave this webinar without having a different mindset on how can we ensure there's a transfer in training? How can we ensure those people who sent on training, they come back and they start applying it? And this is my why for this webinar. So what exactly is the goal of training? Let me ask. Please type into chat. What is the goal of any training program? What is your goal? So when you're sending, for those working in organizations, you're sending your employees for a training. What is the goal? Why you send them on training? Then for those that are that work for clients and you're going to train for them. What is the goal? What do they tell you that their goal is for any training program they want? And I want to put this in that I want to believe that we want to assume that you all know that training is just a subset of learning and development. Training is just a subset of learning and development. So we are looking at training now under those components of learning and development. Training is not learning and development. Training and development is not learning and development. It's not. Okay, so I see Beatrice says goal. The goal is change behavior. A driver performance, drive engagement. Eniola says to improve performance. Paula says to gain knowledge and change behavior. Okay. So these are some of the goals of the training program. Akin says to improve skills, knowledge, and attitude. Interesting. So these are some of the goals of the training program. Meaning, let me summarize what all you've said. For those that are profit making, with all those things you've said, you want to drive profits. If you want to improve performance, it's going back to the bottom line. If you want to increase knowledge and skills, it's going back to the bottom line. All this are still going back to the bottom line. We want to, for profit making, we want to increase our profit maybe by 20%, 30, 50%, whatever it is. Now we go, what exactly is training effectiveness? You know, we're talking about maximizing your training effectiveness, turning training into action. What exactly is it? Now, in a short word, training effectiveness or training transfer, as some persons call it, is a situation whereby your employees have gone for a training, they've learned the knowledge, the skills, the behaviors, whatever it is they've learned, they come back to the business and they start applying those things they've learned. Whenever you send people on training and they come back, they're not applying it, your training was not effective. Or they start applying it and they stop, the training was not effective. It should be continuous. They keep applying all they've learned. They keep applying all they've learned. That is what training effectiveness is, or training transfer is. Stay with me as we move ahead. Now we're going to do another poll. Don't forget I said we're going to do a lot of polls. I'm taking you on a journey whereby we're going to reach our panelists and let's start hearing from our panelists. Now, how effective have your training programs been? Please be vulnerable. Please feel free to share. I'm going to open up the poll now. Just feel free to share. Be vulnerable. Let's dig to it. How effective have your training program been? How effective? So let me open up the poll now. How effective have your training program been? Awesome. So I'm opening up the poll now. Yes. How effective have your training program been? Not effective, a bit effective, averagely effective, very effective. I sincerely don't know. Please, if you don't know, it's okay. Others, if you want to share with us what the others is, that would be beautiful. So, how effective have your training programs been? How effective have they been? You send people on training, they come back. I'm not talking about the surveys I've done at the end of the training. I'm saying on a scale of how was a scale of 1 to 5, rate the facilitator, rate the food, rate the venue. That is, according to Kirkpatrick, that is the first level. That is just satisfaction. That is not what will bring the application. So how effective have your training program been? How effective? So I'm going to give you some few seconds more because I see that 27 persons out of 50 persons have answered. Then I would close the poll. And even though I close the poll and you still want to type into chat, please feel free to type into chat. Please feel free. Okay. So let me close. I know some persons are still typing, are still writing, still coming. However, because of time, let me close the poll. Because I need you to interact with our panelists. I need you to ask questions. Ask them whatever question you want to. Get contributions. I need that from you. So I'll close the poll. Okay. So let's see. How has it been? So we see people saying not averagely. So one person says a bit effective, 14% says averagely effective, just 9% says very effective. 5 people say, I sincerely don't know. Thank you so much. And others, just one person, others. Wow. Okay. So we have more persons saying that their training program they have just been averagely effective. Averagely effective. Thank you so much for sharing. And if you want to still share, you could tell us what you mean by averagely effective. Would you want to share with us what that means? Averagely effective. So you can see what we are talking about. So that means there really is a challenge whereby our trainings have not been effective. And you can see that I thought about all of you for taking up this topic for the webinar. So let's move ahead and see if we're going to be able to solve that problem. Now I want to ask again, we're taking another poll. In the preparation of the training, can you see that the trainees will find the training course satisfactory? I'm driving somewhere by all the polls I'm taking. So I'm going to open up the poll again. I'm driving somewhere. Our panelists have all this, know about all the polls, know about this stuff. We are driving somewhere. We want to see how to serve you better. We want to see how to serve you better. And so we've opened the poll. Do you want to take the poll? Now, what we are asking is, when you're preparing training, either as a client or either as an in faculty in the organization, or even if you're not even the faculty, you give it out to a training company, and of course you're asking them, where will the venue be, what is the content, and what are they going to be taking your employees on. In all those preparation, can you say that this training is going to be satisfactory? Because you know that we got good vendors that will give us good food. We have good pads. The pad are good. Some people, if it's a high level training, they are giving them laptops, they're giving them iPad, they're giving them bags, sending them to a good venue. All those things are things you put in as you're preparing for the training. So in all those things you're putting in, can you say that, yes, this training, at the end of this training, it's going to be effective? Can you say that? Can you say that? Okay, I'm going to be reading your chats later on. I can see your Samira. Thank you so much, Farouk, for what you said. So can you say that? We have 20 persons that are finished. Do you want to just respond. If you don't know, please say, I'm not so sure. I sincerely don't know. You can pick that, not a problem. Can you really say that? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to stop the poll now. I'm going to stop the poll. Thank you so much for those. I'm going to stop the poll. Thank you. And we have 10 persons saying, yes, I can. Just one person says, no, I cannot. 11 persons say, maybe I can. I'm not so sure. So we have more persons saying, I can. Now, why do you think you can? Because you're looking at the venue, feeding, accommodation, what the participants are going to take from them, and that's why you can. Now, what do we find out? That a lot of persons cannot really say that the training is going to transfer, that my employees, you've already done the poll and you've said that. A lot of persons said, I cannot. That when they come back from this training, they're going to apply what they've learned. When they come back from this training, they will start putting into practice all they've learned. So we're going to leave this poll. We will come back to this poll. What are some of the reasons why training has not been effective? We're going to come back to it. We have an elephant in the room. Are you an L&D professional? Are you an HR professional? Are you a training provider? Whoever you are, there's really an elephant in the room. And do you know what that elephant is? The elephant in the room is that person that says, that doesn't want to find out, why are my employees not putting into practice all they've learned? What is the problem? What are the issues? Why are we just ticking the box? Like now, I don't know about any other country. In Nigeria, for instance, end of the year is when a lot of organizations are training people. Some persons have told me we need to meet our budget, our KPI, that we need to train up to 50, 100 people. And if we don't meet it next year, they won't give us that training budget. They will slice our training budget. So that is the elephant in the room. And that is what the panelists, myself and the panelists, will be looking at. Because if you're unable to deal with that elephant in the room, you're losing money. As a business, as an organization, because you've not dealt with that elephant in the room, you're losing so much money. And we don't want you to lose so much money. This is what we want from you. We want whereby your employees go for training. There's a gap. You see the gap. You send them on that training. They come back. They fill up that gap from what they've learned. And this is what you have. That gap is filled up. And at the end, what happens? Growth. So we know you may not have gotten it correct in 2023. There's another opportunity for you next year, 2024. And that's why we're having this webinar now. We are saying, get your bios, get your jotters, start finding out, what have I not been doing well? How do I do it well? So that in 2024, we are hitting the ball. We are not losing money for our organization. We are making money for our organization. We are making profit for our organizations. They are not cutting your training budget. They are not touching your training budget. Rather, they are increasing your training budget. They're saying, no. You said your budget was 10 billion last year. 100 million? No. We need to increase it to 150 million because we can see the impact. It's training is really creating an impact. So that's where we want to take you today in today's webinar. And I'm going to end with this while we move on to the panelists. Training is easy. Doing the stuff. I want to believe you agree with me. Training is easy. Doing is what? Very tough. And only 20% of learners use the training to provide business value. This has been theoretical proven, practically proven. That's what it is. Why ATD says only 38% of managers believe that their programs meet their learners' need. And this is what Josh Besson said. They said minus 8 NPS, net promoter score, is how employees rate the L&D department. Yes, extremely low. Can we change this? Can we change this? On an average, and if you watched I put this on my WhatsApp story, on an average, if you send 6 people on training, only one person comes back. This was done by Robert Brinkerhoff. It was an analysis he did. He did a survey, and this is something as far back as 2006, and it has been proven many times. Now, when you send people on training, maybe you send 6 persons. I used 12 because that was what I used for my video. 6 persons. Only one person is ready, has said, I will come back and apply what I've learned and will show you positive results. The remaining 4 are geared up, they are ready to do that. However, along the line, they give up. Why only one person will say, I will not apply it. This one, let them be sending me. I'm not going to give them. I'm not going to give them anything. I'm not giving them anything. I will not apply anything. So you can imagine if you have this in a business. But what we want to take you, this is where we want to take you in this webinar. We want a situation whereby 85% will say that, yes, you say, apply what they've learned and their positive results. And by the way, this was done by, I told you about Dr. Ina Wembuhem Hidel. She's a woman that is behind the transfer tools, which has been very effective, which I'm going to talk about towards the end when we are done. And Ina is just a wonderful person. Now we go to our panel discussion. Our panelists, I hope you're ready. What I just tried to do was to lay a foundation on what it is. So now I'm going to the panelists now, and I'm going to ask. I'm going to start with you, Nkem. Do you want to tell us briefly, Nkem, what you do for your organization with respect to training? What does your organization do when it comes to training? What does your organization do? What do you do? Nkem, over to you, please.
Okay, good day, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you, Sandra, for anchoring the session. So my name is Nkem. I work with MTN Nigeria, and I'm primarily responsible for managing and talent management function for our business. So as a business, training is one of the tools within our learning and talent management portfolio, which we prioritize because we strongly believe in supporting the capability development of our people as an organization. So we also ensure that training programs that are deployed are fit for purpose. They are aligned to our goals as a business. And we typically try to set strategic goals that speak it.
Sorry. Also, hello, Nkem. Let me cut you there. Would you speak closer into the? I'm seeing attendees saying that the sound is distorted. They are struggling to hear you. Do you want to kind of increase the volume of your microphone, or how can you help us? You can go ahead, please. I think it's a bit better.
Is it better now?
Awesome. It is. Please.
Okay. Apologies for that. So I'll just recap. I started off by saying my name is Nkem. I work with MTN Nigeria. We're a mobile telecommunications business, and we have operations across 22 countries in Africa, and also representation in the Middle East. So I also mentioned that I'm responsible for learning and talent. And this is one of the areas within the HR function which our organization prioritizes because we value what our employees bring to the table towards ensuring that we remain a profitable organization and a going concern as an operation. Sandra, you were asking what we do specifically with respect to training. And I was stating that the whole essence of training within the organization, irrespective of whatever objectives you are trying to achieve, it's important that our training programs are aligned to our strategic goals as a business. And we typically try to set strategic goals that speak into the future. Case in point, for instance, at the moment, our strategy as a business is tied to what we call Ambition 2025. And as a means to ensure that we achieve all the objectives that sit across this strategy, we have also been able to identify critical skill sets that we have to build within our workforce. So whatever training programs we're deploying currently, needs to be able to speak into these skill sets. How does it align to our strategy as a business? And from the perspective of learners, there are also deliberate processes that ensures that beyond attending the training, you are also enabled to be able to transfer the skills learned from this training into your day-to-day operations.
Thank you so much, Nkem. And I can hear people say typing that we're not hearing Nkem very well. Still not hearing well, like I could hear Sandra. Okay, we're so sorry about that. However, let me just summarize what Nkem said. Nkem said that so for them, for their training program, they always ensure they align it to their strategic goals. And in that, based on that, they come up with critical skills that the employees need to build based on those strategic goals. And so you're sent on training based on those critical skills that are needed. And you talked about their Vision 2025. Nkem, is this correct? Okay, thank you so much, Nkem. So let's hear from Temi. Temi, please, over to you. So what exactly, so when it comes to, do you want to tell us briefly what your organization does with respect to training when it comes, because there are a lot of people that are employees in their own organizations. So we'd like to also hear from you, Temi.
Sandra, and thank you. Can you hear me clearly? Just checking.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. So my name is Temitope Adiola, mostly called Temi. I work with the Coca-Cola Hellenic Bottling Company. And with regards to CCHBC, the way that we sort of align trainings we divide them into two. We have functional trainings and leadership trainings. I am the learning manager who's responsible basically for the leadership learning needs. But of course, in line with that, I work very closely with those who also handle the functional bit of it. The way that we do it is we have core programs that basically are deployed to, for example, core people who are first-time leaders or people who we believe are moving from one stage to another within the organization. So if you were previously a leader of self, who did not have direct reports, and you were getting promoted to become a leader of other people, we would have a core program that has those skills that we believe are important for you to effectively perform as a leader, and you would go through that. But we also align our trainings to the individual development needs of our people as well. So very personalized as much as possible. In terms of functional, we look at the role that you are currently in, and we do an assessment of your core skills and see where the gap is. And based on that, we recommend using the 70-20-10 principle, what is needed for you. 70-20-10 principle basically refers to the fact that we believe that development isn't just about training. And I think Sandra has really emphasized on that already today. So 70% being learning on the job, 20% being learning from others, and then the 10 being the formal learning aspect of it. So in line with that, we determine what interventions is required for the gap that you have, and based on that, we go ahead and align on what the best training is for you. So in summary, I'm sure we will still deep dive further into it, but that's pretty much how we sort of address it from our end.
Thank you so much, Temi. Thank you so much. And I'm sure, oh, Temi, they said this is great. Okay, so there, I like that. I hear you say what CCL does is the IDP, which is when we are summarizing at the end, which is the individual development plan. If it's not tied to the IDP of those employees, they may not be motivated to learn. So that's a great one, tied to the IDP. And I also hear that you said that their core skills are also assessed. That means it's an assessment. You don't just send people on training. You assess what the core skills are, and with that, you're able to determine what are the training that would be able to serve these skills. Thank you so much, Temi.
Right.
Thank you so much. So let's go to Annie. Annie, of course, you introduce yourself and tell us. So Annie's not working for an organization, she works for herself. So Annie, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eniola Olawale. I apologize for my tech glitch. My camera is not on. I apologize for that. I am the creative and strategy lead for a law and confidence company, and we work with individuals, teams, and organizations to build performance, process, and system gaps with the aim of enhancing the sustainable achievement of the set objectives or goals of those organizations. And training is one of the major tools we use, apart from other learning and development tools and organizational development interventions. So that's what we do.
Interesting. So when you so what exam? So if an organization reaches out to you, a client reaches out to you and says, "I want to train my employees on leadership." So what exactly do you do as a learn and confidence company? What do you do? Because there are people that also are in that space whereby organizations reach out to them for training.
The very first thing we do, because it's very important to us that the organizations achieve their set objective for the investments. Training is not cheap, not in time and not in money. So the very first thing we do is we find out how that is aligned to the achievement of the organization's bottom line or desired results. And if they've got a competency-based framework which drives their HR processes, we look at what those competencies are. We look at the performance reports for the individuals at hand or in focus to see what the actual gaps are that we're set to or required to address. And we develop a training intervention to address those exact gaps. So if they're performance gaps or if they're development gaps, which is performance, they're currently on a job, but they're not doing as well as they should, we develop a solution for that. But we do that in collaboration with the HR departments and with the line managers to make sure there's an opportunity, number one, that we simulate as much as possible what happens in the real work environment of that particular learner, and that we have a system to track transfer to the job even after training, and that is sustainably transferred, and the results that were set at the beginning of the intervention is actually achieved. So it's a system that we actually use when we're working with those organizations.
Thank you so much, Eniola. Thank you so much. I like that. I hear you say that you also look at one of the things you do as a company, you look at the competency-based framework for the organizations that have it, because we know that some may not have. Then you also look at their performance reports and you look at what are their desired results. And you don't just do this on your own. You're working with the HR department and the line managers of the supposed employees that's supposed to go for that training. And I heard you say, which is very, very key, Annie, and you hit the nail on the head. You said you simulate during the training, you simulate what is supposed to happen back when they go back to the organization. So that means you're creating activities whereby they will try during the training, whereby when they go back to the organization, they are able to try that out. Is that correct? Is that what you meant?
Yes, so that it's seamless. They already part of training for us is achieving the level of confidence to do something effortlessly when you get back to the work environment. So we give them an opportunity to practice as much as they can in the learning space. So when they get back on the job, there is a confidence to boldly continue what they had acquired in the learning space.
Thank you so much. So practice in the learning space, track, evaluate, and ensure it's sustainable. Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you so much. So let's go back to Shehu. Shehu, over to you. Same question to you, Shehu. Over to you, Shehu.
Thank you very much, Sandra, and Eniola, fantastic introduction. My name is Shehu Zubairu. I work for Human Capital Partners, and I run L&D as a business, and also I provide L&D as a service for organization. And what I do in practical terms is to help organization achieve their strategic objectives using training as a tool, and also to close performance gaps. First of all, identify those gaps alongside with the organization or the individual in this case, and then also help to close that gap using methodologies and principles that are effective, all right, for ensuring transfer of learning. So that's what we do. And very similar to what Eniola had mentioned, we create bespoke programs that are in line with the culture of the organization. Programs that are very close to the realities of the people. So you would not find HCP programs like an off-the-shelf program. No, we try as much as possible to customize it to the peculiarity of the organization and the individual, because we also find out that the DNA of the individual and the organization impacts learning to a great extent. And so that is put into consideration when we design and develop learning solutions, just to ensure that it is effective. So that's what I do in a nutshell. Hopefully we'll have time to talk about details of other things.
Okay, thank you so much, Show. Awesome. I can just hear you panelists saying, sinking. There's a synchronization amongst both, and I'm saying that identify the gaps. So is it very, that means it's possible that most times the gaps are not necessarily identified, because you said, I heard Sharon said identify the gap and close the gap. And Sharon, you brought in something again. You brought in culture. So it's possible that the culture is not allowing those employees to put into practice what they've learned. So thank you so much, panelists. And I'm just going to check the chat box while we go ahead. I have more questions to ask you. Okay, so let's move ahead. Now I want to ask, from all we've said, now we've agreed that, let's take it that I wanted to ask, when do we see training as a panacea? So let me ask that question. So that would now drive, with that you can answer the next question I want to ask. When do we say that training is a panacea of a performance problem? When do we say training is a solution? Of course, we know that sometimes training is not the solution. However, though we are talking about training, that's one. So just quickly talk about that. When we say training is a panacea of the performance gap or the issues, or is a solution, then from that, I want you to now answer. When you find out that training is the panacea, training is a solution to this gap we've seen, to this performance need we've seen, how do you now go about it? How? The how now. We want to know the how. So I'm going to jump on Tammy. Tammy, over to you, please.
Thank you, Sandra. So for me, when does training become the solution? I think I will start from where Shehu stops, because he mentioned being able to first identify what the gap is, what the competency gap is with the employees. So as a learning manager, when a line manager comes to me to say, for example, oh, Tammy, I feel like this person needs training. The first question that I ask is why? Because it's important first that we identify that there is a gap. And the way that that is done is, whether you're looking, say, for example, at a future role or a future task, or a current role or task, and you have measured the skills, or you have identified the skills required to effectively perform that task or role, and you have then assessed what the employee in question has, the skill that they have. Now, the gap is between the skill that they have and the skill that they need to perform the task or the role that they need to do. So where training becomes the required solution is where it has been identified to be a knowledge gap or a skill gap. If it's, for example, an attitudinal gap, that obviously cannot be fixed by training. So there we start to explore, does this person need coaching, or is it mentoring? Is there a need for a mindset shift? But where it says it's a skill gap, and look, Timmy, he's been on the job for a while, he doesn't know it, or he's just come in, so he has absolutely no ability in terms of looking at what experience does he have, what actual theoretical knowledge does he have. Those kind of things are checked. And if there is none, or it is lacking, so not up to the level that you would like it to be, then training absolutely becomes the solution in that situation.
Thank you so much. So when you've discovered as a business that training is a solution, so how do you go about it? Now we've agreed now that training is a solution to this gap. How do you go about it as a business?
So the first thing that we do, of course, is to align with the line manager and the person in question the goals that we're looking to achieve. So yes, we've identified that training is the solution. However, are we all looking to achieve the same objective out of this training? That is the first step, because of course, if we do not know where we're going, it's pretty difficult to get there. So we first identify what is the goal, what are we looking to achieve with this training? And then, if we already have a tool in place that we can use, perfect. If we don't, like Shehu has said, we design something that would work, we curate something. And this is why it is important that you do not use a one-size-fits-all approach to learning, because also you also have to consider the way that people learn, especially as we move into such a diverse work environment where you have somebody who is Gen Z and somebody who is a millennial, also considering like the work they do. For example, with CCH, I have quite a number of salespeople. The way that I would administer a training for somebody who is in sales may not be the same way that I would administer it for somebody who is in HR. So HR, for example, I can say, oh, you can do a virtual training, online training, and that works. For a salesperson, if I try that, they will be in the market and they will be trying to multitask. So it will not work. So in that situation, I'm saying, you know what, I think you need to come for a face-to-face and totally disconnect them from the work that they do. So all of those, so you look at the goal, you look at the method, you look at all of those, align with the and align with the line manager. You look at how long, how much time, how much they can take at the time. And also, how long do you think that it will take for this training to actually start to reflect? I mean, when Sandra and I were talking earlier, we talked about things like, imagine that it was a presentation skill gap, for example. What support does that person have to add to put into practice the things that they have learned? So if I take the person through a presentation skills training, I'm hoping that right after the training, the line manager starts to create opportunities where the person can present, because in that way, you can then effectively start to transfer the things that you have learned into becoming a behavior and helping them to improve on their skills. And then other things that I consider is, okay, so now that we have agreed on all of this, when do I need to check back with the line manager and the participants on how this training has been transferred?
Thank you so much, Tammy. Thank you so much. Wonderful. I want to believe our attendees, participants, their notes are being focused. My note is full. I've been writing. So Tammy says, align objectives, find out what is the best method to use, how much. So she's looking at the before the training. She's looking at during the training and after. That's what Timmy has just looked at. The before the training is the align of the objectives, the goal clarity. She's looking at during the training, which is how much time do we need, what is the content we should put, and she's looking at after, which is looking at the support. She's looking at the evaluation. When can we check back? Thank you so much, Tammy. Awesome. Over to you, Nkem, if you don't mind, Nkem, over to you. Let's come to you. Same question to you, Nkem.
Okay. Hope I am as clear as possible.
Yes, for now, yes, you are.
Okay. So when does training become a panacea? And I share similar sentiments with Timmy. For us, we try not to use training as a silver bullet to solve every performance or developmental need encountered by an individual or a team. So we'll typically use it alongside a mix of other learning and development initiatives such as coaching and mentoring, on-the-job support, line manager supervisions, and so on and so forth. But how do we go about ensuring that training programs that are deployed are effective? And the starting point with that is ensuring that an effective needs assessment is conducted. Having been able to achieve that, depending on how the training is being deployed, we ensure that training programs are also tailored to meet the needs of the learners. considering that the world we live in right now, there are a lot of distractions. So are we going to have something blended, or will it be a short workshop that is straight to the point but hit the nail on the head? Or will it be a full blown out program to be deployed over a couple of days or even weeks? We ensure that learning objectives are clear and they are never set by the learning and development team. The learning objective needs to come from the ultimate beneficiary of the training program. So be it the participants themselves or their supervisors who have responsibility for what they do on the job. The learning objectives need to be set, it needs to be agreed, it needs to be clear. And this will ultimately ensure that all stakeholders are able to track how effective the training was, measure the performance and changes in behavior after a couple of months or weeks, as the case may be. Organizations need to adopt learning culture. And part of doing that is changing the mindset that attending a training is not a benefit per se. While there is that angle to it being some form of benefits to reward employees, if you have learning as a culture in your organization, people will take trainings for what trainings are, which is to ensure that a competency gap is closed or a critical skill required by the business is developed. Line managers must be involved. They have ultimate responsibility for how employees perform on the job. So the process of ensuring that your trainings are effective must be done with there must be a way to ensure that line managers are carried along and they are actively involved in the process end to end. So those are some of the tips that we adopt towards ensuring on the effectiveness of trainings here.
Thank you so much, Nkem. Awesome. So I hear you also re-echoing what Temi has already said. So we're all on the same page. I hear you re-echoing that. And then I hear you saying that effective needs assessments must be done, ensure that it's tailored to meet the needs of the learners, and the learning objectives are clearly being stated either by the learners or even by their supervisor who asked for it. I like that I hear you say adopt learning as a culture. So let training not just be like seem as a benefit, rather it's a culture. Training is one of our learning and development. And so when we're sending you on training, we are helping you to become better and you're helping yourself to become better. And I hear you say that the line managers must be involved and they must be carried along. Very key, very important. Thank you so much, Nkem. And let's go to Sheru, then we'll go on to Annie. Sheru, let's hear from you, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Sandra, and then Nkem, thank you very much also for that explicit delivery of the subject. We are talking about when does training become a panacea or a solution for performance. I think the whole thing starts from the identification of that performance gap. There are different causes of performance gaps in organizations, and if we do not properly appropriate a skill gap, a knowledge gap, or probably an attitude gap, to a performance, then training is not the solution. And just like Nkem had said, if a lot of people think that training is a silver bullet, that you can use to solve all problems. As soon as a problem is identified in the organization, let's send him for training. Sometimes not even with the consent of the participant in question. And so you find out that the participant does not agree with that intervention as a solution to his need. And so you find people in class who came for a training supposedly to solve a problem, and they are the problem in class. And so we need to be very clear that the gaps we have identified is a gap that is clearly a skill, knowledge, or attitude in our gap. and then we have clear metrics to measure them. Because one other issue again is we don't even know how to measure training success, and it all comes from this thing you have mentioned. So are there metrics for me to clearly tie it to learning? This performance, if I'm able to close this gap, this performance indicator is going to move in the positive direction. And so we need to first of all clarify that before we get involved in whatever training activity we would like to get involved in. And so training becomes a solution when we have done our analysis very well. If we have done our analysis very well and it is crystal clear that it is a training intervention that is required, and we are able to design and deploy the training appropriately and effectively, then it will be a solution. Because it's one thing to identify it, it's another thing for you to design something else. We are very templated in this. A lot of people just pick templates. Someone developed something in US, you pick it and then you try to superimpose it on a Nigerian audience, or you pick something from Nigeria and you try and superimpose it on a Kenyan audience. Even though they may speak to leadership, peculiar leadership gaps may not be exactly the same. All right, so we need to look at the indicators that is causing that leadership failure as an example in this case. And that's why training has to be bespoke. It has to be customized. You cannot use a template, photocopy it, and superimpose it. It will fail. It always does. It will fail.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shehu. I was just laughing here, Shehu. I can even feel the passion in your words. Thank you. And I hear you say, so if you notice everything our panelists have been saying, that's why before we take questions, I will just summarize it. And what the work of Dr. Ina, right? The 12 levers of training effectiveness. I'm going to tell you about the book. Go and buy it. Go for it. This is wonderful. It has answered everything all the panelists have been talking about, which you're going to talk about. I like that she will talk about design. The designing is very important. So fine, you've gotten what the gap is, and training is a solution, and you've gotten what the gap is. How did you design it? How did you do it? Because when you have the gap and you don't design it rightly, it will fail, just like Shimon said. It will fail, and it will fail woefully, and it will fail beautifully woefully. If there's any English like that, beautifully woefully. Let's go back to Annie. As I'm checking my time, because I'm going to give time for questions and contributions from the audience. So I'm going to give to Annie now. Annie, please, I know, I'm so sorry, be a bit brief, right? So we can give time to the audience for the questions and their contributions. Over to you, Annie.
Thanks, Sandra. Spot on.
You're welcome.
Very quickly, I would go through when we find out that training is the solution, we measure commitment. And to make sure there's commitment on all sides, that's the side of the organization, of the learner, and that's organization being HR, the learner, and then the line manager, because they all play a critical role in making sure training is effective. Then also we check to make sure that the timing of the training is appropriate for the skills transfer, and then that there's a supportive environment for the training intervention. And just as Temi said, we go through the during, before, during, and after phases, and we make sure that the content speaks to the context and supports the culture of the organization. And we support the fact that the learner actually takes ownership of the learning process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you so much. That was just brief and right to the point. Thank you so much, Annie. Annie talked about the commitment, measured commitment. Annie, there was something you said in the last time we were talking. I thought you'd have brought that in. I think you said something about when people feel training is their I can't remember the word you used. I would have loved it to come in here. However, it's fine. And she talked about the supportive environment too. Thank you so much, Annie, Shehu, Temi, and Nkem. You've been awesome. Now, I want to open up to, I want to get, are there people that, attendees, participants that want to share something? I want to just open up for like 5 minutes to hear you share something, because we're going to go to questions. I'm already looking at the chat box. I know that there are questions to ask. So is anybody that wants to unmute the microphone to share something, or you want to type into chat to share something? So I can see a lot of things going on in the chat. Thank you so much, Adora. Adora says our panelists have been great. Yes. Thank you, Yvonne. Timing and commitment, content. Okay, Shola, okay, the name of the book. Okay, What Makes Training Really Work is the name of the book. I'll just type it into chat. And so Yvonne says, yes, so thank you so much, Shewun, with so much passion. Okay. And someone says, okay, my question to Shewun, okay, we're going to come to questions here. We're not on questions here. So is there anybody that has any contribution? If there's no contribution, so we can go ahead. Hi, everybody. Sorry, but I had some annoying technique. Good to be here again. Okay, okay, George. Hi, George. Okay, so if there are no contributions from the attendees, what are your last words? The panelists, I'm giving you this like 1 minute last word because I want to open up. I want to give enough time for the questions and for their action plan. Yes, I want to give time for that. So what are your last words? Don't forget what we've been talking about. How can they maximize training and transform training into action? An employee is sent on training, the employee gets back to the organization, and the employee is putting it into effect then and then. What are your last words? Who do we start with? Let's start with Inkem. Inkem, what are your last words?
Okay, thank you, Sandra. Last words from me. Training effectiveness is very, very possible. We recognize that there are a lot of moving parts, and ability to juggle these parts is typically the constraint that most L&D professionals face. But if we are much more deliberate about it, we will be able to overcome that difficulty and support our businesses to achieve their goals with respect to how much they make available in our training budget.
Thank you so much, Inkem. And what I hear Inkem say is, Inkem had already just echoed what I said before, that it's going to be difficult. Because a lot of people say, there's no time, they don't have time for evaluation. All these stories we've talked about, they feel that is a waste of, there's no time to do it. However, we said, if you want the best out of every training program, are you ready for the difficult job? And you said yes. A lot of you typed in yes. So this is one of it. You must be deliberate about it. And that's what Nkem said. Deliberate about doing the need analysis, getting the gap, following up, support, all that we've talked about. You must be deliberate. Thank you so much, Nkem. Let's go to Temi. Temi, over to you.
Thank you, Sandra. And I think my last words, I will follow from where you stopped to say definitely training effectiveness is possible. But first, remembering to diagnose properly. We earlier had been talking with the panelists and we mentioned, imagine going to the hospital with a headache. And before, you know, the doctor asks you what, before you tell the doctor what's going on, the doctor goes, oh, no, you're fine. Just take Mismag, which is for indigestion, for example. And then you're like, would you trust that doctor? Would you go back to that doctor? One of the easiest ways to build our integrity as trainers is ensuring that we diagnose properly and then recommend the right medicine for people to get well, because when they get well, when they get better, they can recommend you to other people. They can come back to you because they know that you will just not give them a one-size-fits-all. They know that you will just not, you know, throw anything at them, but you will actually go through the right steps that we have discussed today to get to the right solution. So training effectiveness is possible. And the best way to do that is to ensure that you diagnose properly and then make sure that you refer the right intervention to your people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tammy. So Nkem says, be deliberate about it and be ready to do the difficult work. Now, Tammy is saying, diagnose properly. You go to the doctor and you're having headache and doctor is giving you mismatch because doctor says that you're having stomach ache. Is the doctor really the person? Are you the one having the headache? Thank you so much, Tammy. Now let's go to Shehu, what are the last words? And please don't sign out yet. We are going to be having questions. So what are the last words from you, Shehu?
Thank you very much, Sandra. I will not try and repeat what my colleagues have mentioned. In addition to what they've said, I think the need for perfect alignment of objectives between the individual to be trained and every other critical stakeholder. Critical stakeholder means those who are L&D custodians within the organizations. L&D vendors, the line managers, the organization itself, the business. All of these people are stakeholders to ensure that learning is effective. All right. And so there must be a perfect alignment of objectives and interest. If that alignment doesn't happen, a lot of things are going to fall through the crack. I'll just give you a quick example. I ran a training for a client once, and there was a communication gap between the L&D custodian and the users of the learning solution. What they wanted was completely different from what we discussed with the custodians of learning in the organization. And it was when we had a direct conversation with the learners that we found out that what they wanted was not a train the trainer. What they actually wanted was how to manage meetings training. These are two different things. And there was complete misalignment. And so we need to be sure that there is an alignment across board, up to the CEO level, because the CEO is looking at the bottom line. Everybody should see the same thing, because sometimes the participant is not seeing how this ties into the bottom line. Sometimes the vendor is not seeing how it ties into the bottom line. And even sometimes the L&D custodian is not seeing how it ties into the bottom line. So we must have a perfect alignment of objectives.
Thank you so much, Sheun. So Sheun says, perfect alignment of strategy objectives by all stakeholders. Awesome. Any, over to you. Your last words.
Thanks, Sandra. I know the organizations say that they don't have the time and it's expensive time-wise, but the truth is, if they don't do it properly, it will be more expensive result-wise. It's the pre and post work required for effective training is essential to make sure that the learning transfer is achieved and it is sustainable for the organization to get the results. So as service providers, we can't discount it because it will cost the organization a lot in time and resources.
Thank you so much, Annie. And Annie says, doing it properly. The pre, the post, and also doing it properly. Thank you so much, my panelists. You've been awesome. You've been wonderful. Kisses all the way from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you so much. Thank you for your last words. And we are winding down. And in summary, we are winding down now. We are concluding by saying training transfer is not an event. If you notice, that's all what the panelists have said, every single one of them. From Annie to Tammy to Sheun to Inkem, it's not just an event. It is dynamic. It is complex, a complex process. And you said at the beginning of this webinar that you are ready to do the complexity. You're ready to uncap the complexity. Are you ready? So it should be treated as a program that requires proper planning. And you've heard from our panelists how to plan very well. And from all they've said, I'm summarizing it in this. These are the people that are responsible for training transfer to occur. It is a shared responsibility. The trainees, those that will attend the training provider, be it outside, external, or internal, maybe it's the HR or the risk management, whoever the training provider is, outsider or insider, and the organization, the manager. These three persons are very, very key. And you all have to work hand in hand, these three persons. And that is, I will leave us with what Ina says. Dr. Ina put up the book there already. She says, for training transfer to take place, three things must happen. The levers, we have what we call the 12 levers of training effectiveness. That's what her book is all about. The 12 levers of for training effectiveness. We have the first three levers, which are for the trainees, and you can see the trainees there. And in the levers, it talked about the motivation. Are the trainees motivated to come for the training? Heard what Sheun shared, that they didn't want to come for the training. They didn't want to. I had a training, the same thing happened. I asked them, what is your why? He said, madam, they told us to come for this training. That is why we are here. That I'm not supposed to be here. I know I've heard it. I was like, shoot me again. So the motivation. So you must think about the trainees. Are they really motivated? Do they want it? Think about them. Will they be able to apply what they've learned? Are they ready to apply it? Then now you look at the design, which is a training provider. So in a training provider, that is what Ina talked about. We have 4 levers. The clarity of the expectations, what they've been talking about, all our panelists. What are the expectations? What do you want to see? What are those critical behaviors you want to see? You're saying that people are not submitting their report. So what are the behaviors you want to see after the training? After the training, we want that at the end of Every day they submit their report. That is the behavior you want to see. Have you been able to define that this is the behavior we want to see? Clarity of behavior, clarity of expectations. What about the content? You had the story whereby Shane also gave that they have a training and a different content. So what is the content? What is relevant? We talked about the active practice. Annie talked about it. She said practicing during the training. She said simulation. What they are going to be doing in the organization, they do it in the training. Practice is very important. Then transfer planning, which is what we're going to do now. What would they start doing as they are leaving? What would they start doing? Then the last but not the least, she talked about the area for the levers for the organization. And the levers for the organization, we have 5 things for the organization. And this is what she talked about. She said the opportunities for application, I think it was Temi that talked about it, and even in Kem, are there opportunities for them to practice what they've learned? She talked about the principal transfer capacity. Do they have the time? You send them on training, you tell them to come, and you don't give them the time to practice it. Do they have the time? Support. Do they have support? I think Nkem talked about that. Support from their supervisors. Do they have support from their colleagues? And what is the big goal as an organization, the expectation? So these are the things from everything they've talked about. Ina was able to bring it into what we call 12 levers of transfer effect, which I've just listed to us. Are we ready to do the work? Now it's time for our action plan. From everything the panelists have been saying since we started, from everything we've been discussing, what is your next line of action? This is now a call to action. Please feel free to type into chat. If you want to unmute your microphone, that's fine. I will read it. What is your next line of action in ensuring that your training is what? Effective. Ensuring that your employees that go for training, they come back to the organizations, they are putting into practice what they've learned. Ensuring that your training is hitting the bottom line. You're not losing dollars, you're not losing money, you are making profit for the business. What is your next line of action? I'm going to give 1 minute for this, then open up for questions and we will call it a day. What is your next line of action? A call to action. This is a call to action. What is your next line of action? After this webinar, what do you want to start doing? Or what do you want to stop doing? Or what do you want to continue to do? What is your next line of action? Okay, let me see into chat. Okay, while we wait for that, it's now time for questions. What are the questions you may have at this point in time? Please still feel free to type your next line of action into the chat box. What are the questions you may have at this point in time? Thank you so much. Our panelists have been great. Okay. So what are your next line of action? What are your questions now, please? I think question to you. Yeah. Okay.
Sandra, I see
Anna,
that
over to you.
Christian has raised his hand. I'm wondering, Christian, if you're ready, I can
Please.
unmute you so you can either ask your question or comment. Okay.
Please. Thank you,
Right.
Anna.
Christian, you have been unmuted. Christian, can you hear us?
Is it okay to do need assessment by observation, or should someone always use forms and interview and questions to do it? Because in my company, usually as a startup, what defines the topic of the training that we are doing internally is usually when I look at the practices which are being done. Whenever I notice that the team is having challenges in completing a task, I will identify it as a potential need where an internal training could be provided. So my question basically is, should we always have those process of assessing the need, or observation could be enough? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kristen. And I'm going to put your panelists on the spot. Annie, do you want to go for that, please?
Thanks for that question, Chris. Yes, observation it's an acceptable and very useful means of identifying needs, because at times you do not, especially when it's a startup, you might not have the systems yet. And the fact that you can observe that there's a bottleneck means there is a need for a performance enhancing intervention. So it is acceptable.
Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you so much. Is there any of the panelists that want to add anything or Is that is anybody, any of the panelists that wants to add?
Let me just add to this.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Annie. Observation is part of the tool that is used to identify training needs, but sometimes you may need to dig a level lower. Sometimes what you are seeing is at best a symptom. And if you run with a symptom just by regular problem solving techniques, you probably be giving the wrong solution in terms of design. And so what surveys help us to do, or when you observe something, it's good to gather as much information as possible so that you are clear about the cause of it. Because if people are not replying their email, there may be 1,001 reasons why that is happening. And that is one of the reasons why you need to dig a deep deeper. They'll say, oh, they are not replying their email. So I've observed that it's observable, it's clear, it's fine. But dig just an inch deeper to see if there is an underlying cause. You may just find out that there may be no need for a training. It could be something else, you know. And so if you do that analysis, it will help. Sometimes it's not something expensive to do. Okay. Sometimes it could just be a focus group conversation. It could also be that you are sending online surveys and asking particular questions to isolate what the actual problem is. So that's an addition to what has been mentioned.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Are you good? I want to believe Kristen. I want to believe Annie and Shiwa has answered your question. Do you want to type into chat or mute your microphone and say, yes, I'm fine. They've answered my question. Okay. So is there any other question, any other burning questions we need to answer? Because our time is, the time is ticking and we'll have to say our goodbyes. Are there any questions? I know that I saw, Raj, I want to believe your question has been answered. I can see a question there. My question to Shehu and Temi, most of the gap is observed because of the attitude issue of the employee. How can we make them take benefits of the training? Raj, has this been answered by all that have been said? I'm seeing this question and I say I will come to it. So if there are no more questions, and if Raj, I don't know if this has been answered. If there are no more questions, I will just move forward by saying, if you still have more action plan, please feel free to write it. Even after today, you can write it. On this note, I want to conclude by saying, old ways won't open new doors. Old ways won't open new doors at all. Success doesn't come cheap. It comes with hard work. Are you willing to pay the price for success? The choice is just now. What will it be? And this is where we got our materials. We all want to say, myself, Temi, Eniola, Sheung, and Nkem want to say, be happy and feel good about yourself always. And on this note, I just want to say thank you. And that's my detail. I remain Sandra Ihenacho, the Oracle. Thank you so much, everyone. And over to you, Anna. I know I can see some things in the chat box. Maybe you will be the one. Okay, Christian says he has the last question. Okay, Christian.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. So we have this. What are the best advices that you can share to maximize training for hybrid team? So, like hybrid team, basically, there are some who are in the office and some who are working remotely. How do you ensure that those working remotely get the best of the in-person training, knowing that sometimes they may not be necessarily engaged, or with, like, you know, what are the best practices that you can share, please? Thank you so much, Sandra.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Temi, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, sure. And this is my personal experience. I hope it will help you, Christian. When it comes to training, I try, if I want to do face-to-face, I do face-to-face. If I want to make it virtual, I make it virtual, because I find out that the technologies do not allow hybrid. Because if you're sitting in a room and there are a few people sitting outside of the room trying to connect, it can be very distracting. Where you choose to have it virtual, because people are not able to attend physically, some of the practices that I put in place is ensuring that the cameras have to be on throughout the course of the training. In fact, sometimes if I And then I put people on the spot. So for example, I'm checking here. So I say, oh, Shehu, are you with us? And if I don't hear you respond, I actually move you back into the waiting room. So that will prompt you that you are not actually in the session and make you come back. It can be a challenge, but making sure, especially where when you're having a virtual training, make it engaging and don't make it slides only. Pause as often as you can, as time would allow you, and get feedback from people. Those are the things that I do to ensure that I make my virtual trainings engaging. However, I have also seen some trainings where some people are sitting inside in session and some people are virtual, but you will need a very high level of technology to make it work. So depending on what is available to you, and in that way as well, just remember to pause and get the people who are outside or who are virtual to contribute as well. Always insist. You send them an email before the training insisting that they will need to have their cameras on during the duration of the training. That's
Thank
the
you
way
so
that
much.
I have
Thank you so
practiced
much, Tammy. And just to add a little to that, so that's in Lagos Business School, we do that. We have people that join virtually and we have people in class. So now, let me just re-echo what Tammy said. Ensure that when designing the training, your design it is as engaging as possible. It's as engaging as possible. And do not do 1 hour, 15 minutes without stopping. Don't run at a stretch. 1 hour, 15 minutes, stop. Tea break, leg walk, and ensure their videos are also on, and ensure their activities whereby we put them in breakout rooms. We have people joining all over the world and they're in breakout rooms. So we have this syndicate rooms whereby we have a television and they are doing exercises. In abroad, in Nigeria, we are doing exercises. So the planning must be on the spot. I don't know. I hope this helps you out too. Okay, thank you so much, Kristen. And I see so many questions. Anna, over to you. I hope we've not taken so much people's time. And I see people. Lillian has given her action plan. Thank you so much, Lillian, for giving your action plan. And Wanjiku also gave his action plan too. Thank you very much, all. Anna, over to you, so that I won't take much of people's time again.
Sandra, do you have time for one more question?
Yes, no, we are here. We are fine. I just wanted to ensure that we're not
Okay.
stepping on people's shoes.
Yeah,
We're fine. We're good here.
Yeah, I understand that we already exceeded our time. So if you have to go, I mean, absolutely, we understand that. But if you have more questions, and of course, if our panelists are still available to answer these
Yeah,
questions,
available.
we're happy to stay and, continue the discussion for a few more minutes. So Bowenson says managers often use the sacrifice of training to motivate employee performance when the root factors behind their underperformance is management's demotivating lapses in the first place. This makes the training appear ineffective. How do or should you feedback to management that they are the real culprit behind underperformance?
Okay. Who would answer that? Can we have Nkem and Annie? Nkem and Annie, would you want to answer this? Nkem is coming from the perspective of an employee in an organization. Annie is coming from the perspective of giving out trainings to clients. Nkem, please, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Sandra. So I'll just share experience with how we try to mitigate this within our organization. And the approach we've adopted is creating a business partnering model with respect to how learning and talent management is done. So we have every single function in the business assigned an advisor, and this advisor sits with you on a day-to-day basis. The advisor for a finance function, for instance, will have his or her ears on the ground to know literally everything that is going on within the finance space with respect to their learning and talent management needs. Or marrying this with being able to conduct an effective needs assessment before a training is brought on board. It helps us solve this problem about line managers on being selective with respect to So that's how it runs in here.
Okay, okay.
But we
Thank you.
must fit to the problem of how that feedback is shared with management. I'll just say you have to start from somewhere. If that has been clearly identified, you need to have your facts right and start the conversation. And then when the conversation is started, the onus now lies with management to start instilling that culture within the business.
Okay, thank you so much, Nkem. Over to you, Annie.
Thank you very much, Sandra. From our perspective, that's the service provider, we typically would advise that an audit is conducted, and we don't mind being a part of that audit for the process. So if there's an underperformance or there's a gap in performance in a particular area, it's not only the people and the skills, there's the culture, there are the systems, there are the processes, there are the procedures. So we'll take a look at the holistic ecosystem, and then we'll look at what the levers are that have those gaps. And that report is sent back to management in a form that is as benign and non-attacking as possible, to say, here are the areas that need to be strengthened for performance to be improved. And in so many cases, it could be the process, it could be the structure, it could be the communication line, it could be the systems, it could be the technology, it could even be the management styles of the overseeing supervisors. It could be several things. So that audit would help. I hope that addresses the question.
Yeah. Even though I'm not Bowenson. Bowenson, do you want to say yes or no? But I listening to both of
wait.
you.
So in your invoice.
So does it address, is your question answered? Okay, I can hear him. I want to believe that the question is answered, because from what you and Nkem said, it's just on point, especially partly. Okay, I'm not seeing it. Okay, he said. Okay, partly. Bowenson, do you want to unmute your microphone and say why you're telling us partly? And I'm sure there's something that maybe there's a slight thing that is making you to say partly. Then we'll be able to address that better. Do you want to do that, or do you want to type into chat?
Bowenson, if you like, you can raise your hand. That will make it easier for us to unmute you.
Because him saying partly, because this is this is a whole round thing, so we would like to know where, because Nkem and he took it from different perspective. Nkem from an employee, an insider, and any a provider, a service provider, right? And took it from that level, because audit is quite important, because how can you say that you must have data to back this up? And that's why we talked about when you want to send an employee on training, you're asking them, why do you think you're being sent on this training? So some employees will tell you that I don't need this training, it's my supervisor that needs it. So whoever is a training provider, you must be getting that data without calling the employee's name. So it's an audit. Why do you think you're being sent on this training? They will tell you, this training my manager is sending me on, it's not me that need it. Sandra, it is my manager that needs it. And these are the reasons why I think my manager needs 1, 2, 3. Now you're getting facts, you're getting information, you're getting data. So just like Annie said, and just like Nkem said, you must have an audit. You must speak with it. It's a 3 thing. We talked about it. The trainings, the training provider, and the line manager, and the what? And the organization. So you need to get all this, have an audit from these 3 perspectives to find out why this training. So these 3 group of people must undergo the audits for you to be able to get that. I don't know if this has helped you now, Buensi. Has this helped you? Have we moved you from partly to yes, it's been answered? Or if you want, you could also connect with any of us again, and we can have enough time to delve into, and maybe there's a particular thing you're trying to address. We could give you time and talk about it. Anna, over to you, Anna.
Well, so a huge thank you to Sandra, to all the panelists, and of course to all the participants for staying a little bit longer with us today. I know that this is a very hot topic, and we're all concerned all L&D professionals are concerned to make sure that whatever they're learning or whatever they're teaching is really being learned and being applied in practice. So I think this is not the end of this discussion. Probably there are still some other aspects that we can explore to make sure that whatever training we deliver is truly effective. Correct, Sandra?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
but in the meantime, I know that it's already 11:44 here in Washington, D.C., so thank you so much for staying with us a little bit longer. And I will try to be quick. First of all, I would greatly appreciate it if all the participants could please provide their feedback on today's session. And if there are any questions that you would like us to consider in the future, especially when it comes to training effectiveness, please include them in your comments in the SurveyMonkey. I also would like to remind all the French speakers that on October 19th, we will be offering a very exciting session with Christian. You heard him, a few minutes ago. So Christian will talk to you again about the opportunities that artificial intelligence brings to the L&D space. So we already had this session in June, and we're going to repeat it again in October, in just a week from now. But this time, this will be in French. So we're just making sure that all our that our audience is equipped with AI skills, because really this is the future of the L&D space.